Hey, once again, welcome to the channel. So far I've looked at several jackets, the 301 bag and a whole range of trousers by Acronym. A big missing piece is some conversation about their long-standing collaboration with Nike for shoes. Acronym had been releasing a full range of clothing for almost 15 years before they ever released a shoe. This is evidenced by these early product shots where full Acronym outfits were shown with quite typical Nike shoes of the time. In 2015, this collaboration saw its first release, and each shoe took a classic Nike silhouette and added some unique functionality or design. I became an absolute devotee of a few of the pairs that were released as they often had great features like added zips that made putting the shoe on far easier than your average pair. Before we get into looking at each shoe, I just want to mention that this video is sponsored by Reversible, who reached out to me after appreciating my videos on Acronym. They operate a website that offers price comparison between retailers for everything from Acronym to Rick Owens to practically any other brand you could want. You can also set up price alerts to be sent a notification when something gets put on sale. This is actually really useful. Pretty quickly after looking at the Acronym section, I was alerted to how End Clothing has Acronym's new J123A GT jacket for a great discount, which I've had my eye on for a minute. Reversible also has a user-to-user marketplace with no platform fees that offers the ability for you to buy and sell items for a buy-it-now price or an auction. I found one user selling this Rick Owens Fall Winter 2007 Deeper Than a Mother's Tears t-shirt on here. It's an item I've been on the hunt for since 2014, and I genuinely haven't seen anyone sell it anywhere else in years. Also, if you find a seller that has several things you want, you can send them a bond offer for multiple items at once. I had actually used Reversible in the past before they reached out to collaborate with me, so it was cool to hear from them. Now let's get into some individual looks at all the shoes Acronym made with Nike in order of release, and I should mention that I have worn some of these to absolute bits, so be prepared to see some pretty beat up looking pairs. The very first Acronym Nike shoe was created in 2009, and it was a high-top dunk that was blacked out with an Acronym logo on the tongue, which is far more simplistic than what future collaborations would do. It was also never commercially released. Elson Hu posted these on his Instagram in 2021 and claimed that they were one of one. Supposedly in the same year there was also an Acronym Nike blazer, but as far as I know pictures of it don't exist. Acronym would eventually make a blazer a full 13 years later in 2022. In 2015, Acronym would release their first commercially available Nike shoe, which was the Lunar Force 1. In their initial release, they came in three colorways consisting of turbo green, bright crimson, and black and white. There was also a reissue in 2017 that was released as part of a pack celebrating 35 years of the Air Force 1 that was entirely white. So this shoe is a variation of one of Nike's most classic styles, the main difference being that the shoe has a large zipper which runs alongside the laces. This means that you practically only have to tie these shoes once and the laces become practically just for show. This of course makes getting them on and off a breeze. The zipper is also extremely pronounced on the shoe, running further than it really needs to, and it can also break apart, which as the zipper is completely fixed to the shoe is a practically unnecessary feature. The Nike tick also partially detaches from the shoe to be undisturbed by the zipper. Another feature the shoe has is these plastic heels that are differently coloured on each variation. The tongue also has some Acronym branding, as does the inside of the zip. On the turbo green colourway, this part of the shoe is metallic, which is an almost completely concealed detail when you have them on. I ended up getting every single shoe in this release, but not all at once. The black suede pair I got at launch and they're still somewhat wearable, but the material got quite spoiled very quickly. I always kind of regretted picking the black pair over the white crimson pair, which has a leather upper instead of suede because of this. In 2017, when the shoe was re-released in an all-white colorway, I entered raffles and ended up with two pairs. So I sold the pair on and got the pair I have for a vastly reduced price. I've absolutely worn these to bits. The sole was close to completely worn down. And since I'd worn that pair so much and my black pair became a bit scruffy looking, I was absolutely in the market for another pair. But a massive problem with this is that these shoes only had two releases and became extremely valuable. The crimson colourway in particular started to fetch prices of £1,000 and above regularly on StockX, and I remember these shoes being quite disliked at launch and readily available at retailers for weeks afterwards. In 2023, after a lot of the hype had died down, I found a slightly cheaper eBay listing for a crimson pair and got these for £440. It's the only time I paid big resale for any shoe and I'm still yet to wear them. I'm sure I will one day though. One big side note is that I totally remember young Sherman wearing these in a Young Lean interview, and also Blade once put out a tweet calling them the Dreamforce 1s, which is important information. Later in the same year I got a very lightly used pair of the turbo green colourway to complete the set. Something quite amusing about this is that the eBay seller mentioned in the listing that an ex of theirs had spent £650 on StockX for them. I paid £220 complete with box. I can only thank that person's ex for doing the heavy lifting for me. Massive shout out to them. The sole of these for some reason started to completely detach from the shoe, so I've had to re-glue parts of it and I need to glue it again after I finish this video. These are currently my everyday shoes that I wear to everything, even mosh pits. So the Acronym Lunar Force 1 is definitely one of my favourites of Acronym Nike shoes. I mean, I've bought so much of them that I got every single pair. If you're after these, I find you can often find them on eBay and other marketplaces for quite a decent price. I also never thought I would buy worn shoes, but honestly it's quite a good move if you know you're just going to trash the shoes through wear anyway, and you can often find them for less than retail in okay condition. One last thing to note is that at launch the 2017 version was released in a number of locations that offered hydro dipping for the shoe, so you can often find people trying to sell a shoe that they chose to customize. It just strikes me as funny that they think someone would actually want that. In 2016, for their second Nike shoe, Acronym took the Air Presto, a model that was first seen in the year 2000, and added some unique functionality. In the initial set, there are three colorways: olive, bamboo, and volt. The thing that gives the shoe an Acronym edge is its unique fastening system. Normal high-top versions of the Presto can have dual zip closures near the top of the shoe, but here there's a button tab which is a lot like what Acronym put on their jackets, and you can pull this tab to fasten the shoe quickly. Like the Lunar Force 1, this means that the laces are practically just for show, as you only have to tie them once. Now this zip mechanism works great to get the shoe on, but in order to get the shoe off you'll have to use the zipper tabs, as the mechanism doesn't work the other way. Other details added are two Acronym logos on either side of the zips, and these soft pieces of material that remind me of Acronym's motifs like the Shuriken logo. I got one pair of these in olive at release and I've absolutely worn them to the bone. If you tie them too tight, the cage that holds the laces is liable to dig in and tear the shoe. This happened slightly to me, but not very severely. I remember the process to buy these shoes was particularly daunting. This was before Nike established the sneakers app, and I managed to get them on their website by just guessing that they would go live at 11 AM. They immediately became extremely sought after and very valuable for years, so it's a good thing I didn't miss out. 2 years later, Acronym would reissue the design in 2018, and if the initial set was subtle, these were anything but. They came in three colorways: Racer Pink, Dynamic Yellow, and Cool Grey. There was also a friends and family only variant with silver details. The main design differences here are that each shoe has logo tape running across the stitching of the upper, and the cages or toe cap of the shoe have Acronym logo details printed on them. They also have an extra circular piece of material here that the first release did not. You could be mistaken into thinking this is to prevent the cage from digging into the upper, but it's absent on the other side. The second set of Prestos were definitely not as liked as much as the first, and I think that remains true to this day. I really struggled to buy this release at launch, and I ended up with the yellow colorway, which was my least desired one. Last year I managed to get a brand new pair of the Racer Pink colorway on an eBay auction for retail, and the seller left me feedback that told me about how much they regretted selling them to me, which is pretty amusing. So the Acronym Presto is another strong favourite of mine from these collaborations, especially any from the first release. It's just a very cool looking shoe with a great easy access feature. With the second set, I really do like the Racer Pink colourway for its garish and way over the top colours. On the few times I've worn it, I've had random people ask me about it. It's funny how it makes the Volt colourway seem subtle when that seems so dramatic at launch. Another thing of note is that the sizing was done wildly differently between the two releases. The first set were in an odd sizing scheme that was between two sizes on paper. The pair that I got was a medium, which was between a 9 and 10 UK. Then the next release was done in straightforward normal sizing, and I bought two size 10 UKs in those and found them to be a lot less snug than the first. In 2017, Acronym released a second variation on the Air Force 1, this time an extreme high top with some very Acronym features. It came in three colorways: white, crimson, and olive. This shoe features a Spanish buckle similar to what Acronym puts on their bags, which gives it a very unique fastening system with a quick release pull tab. There's also a zipper running down the side of the shoe, so once again the laces only have to be tied once. On the back of the shoe there's a cutout for the colour of the heel and an Acronym logo to be exposed. I'd say that these are certainly the most difficult Acronym Nike shoes to wear. I actually did get a pair of these at launch in the crimson colourway after missing out on the much better other two colours, which was a bit of a cope. I actually had the presence of mind to realise I was never going to wear them with my wardrobe at the time, and I returned them. So overall I really do like these shoes, but not enough for me to have seeked them out to get another pair now that the hype is truly past. In 2018, Acronym released a Vapormax model, which was the first from this collaboration that didn't offer any unique Acronym features. It came in three colorways: sail, black, and light bone. There was also a friends and family only one with chrome details. For me, these shoes marked a bit of a departure in what Acronym Nike was all about, as they essentially just took what was a new Nike shoe model at the time and gave it an Acronym print. It also has the Shuriken logo cut out along the heel with a number of logos. This shoe is still laceless and easy to get on like all the shoes in this collaboration. It's still a very unique looking shoe, and the light bone colorway became a staple of so many fit pics, but its lack of unique features made me not buy a pair. This time around you get the sense that Acronym were almost promoting a new shoe for Nike, rather than giving a very distinct addition to their design. This is similar to what Undercover did for the React 87 around the same time. Of course the design does stand alone and it is unique for what it's worth. Somehow all three colorways are still available in small sizes on Acronym's website to this day. They've been there for 6 years. After quite a break from Nike collaborations, Acronym has released what is currently their final Nike shoe in 2022 with the Blazer Low. It came in two colorways, Night Maroon and Olive Aura. Acronym also released an entire range of clothing with Nike alongside them. What makes these unique is that the upper has Acronym shurikens cut out all over. These are free-flowing bits of material that hang off the shoe. The tongue also has its sponge exposed for a deconstructed look. On the heel there's a cage which is removable with each shoe coming with 2 sets of cages to choose from. It takes 6 screws to remove one cage, so it's quite a lot of work to use. Also, at the release of these shoes, Acronym held an event where people 3D printed cages to put on the heel. The back of the shoe also has a kind of tongue with a button closure that feeds through the cage. The reinforcement of the heel means that it behaves a bit like a shoehorn, which makes putting the shoe on easy, and you can have it set up so you don't have to do the laces each time. This isn't as easy as the other methods of access that Acronym designed on the other shoes, but it does work. Now, I actually must have been one of the few people on the planet that paid resale for these. After trying to get them on the Nike Sneakers app to no avail, I panicked and paid a £25 premium for a pair on StockX. Once I got them, I kind of found them to be the weakest Acronym Nike shoes in my opinion. One of the things I really dislike about this shoe is that the sole is so flaccid, so if you drive a manual car it bends extremely easily under the clutch pedal. This is such an oddly specific thing to pick on, but it made me never want to wear them. The shoe is also a bit of a cheap and unimpressive model. It almost looks like something you'd find at an outlet, just with a cage on the back. And maybe my assessment of them is a little bit brutal, but I think the resale prices these days really reflect this sentiment. Nowadays you can get these on StockX for less than half of what they cost, with the maroon colourway quite amusingly going for about £35, down from the retail price of £125. But for what it's worth, Hideo Kojima constantly wears them in his Instagram pictures. One thing that only just arose while I was making this video is that Acronym are making a shoe of MSCHF. MSCHF have their own shoe that's remarkably similar to an Air Force One, and they've collaborated with Acronym to do almost exactly what the Lunar Force One did for Nike on their own shoe. It's definitely more goofy in appearance, it has an even lengthier zip, part of the lace goes over the zipper, and it has strange green accents and cutouts. These were released as a raffle for a princely sum of $250. As there was no UK retail release for these, I didn't go for them. It would have come to about £300 to get them here, and since I already have a brand new pair of the Crimson Lunar Force Ones that I haven't worn, it's a little bit difficult to justify. There was a fair amount of dislike for them online, but that has been true of practically every shoe Acronym has ever released, save maybe the first set of Prestos. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe, and consider following me on Instagram. Now I have just one thing left to do, which is the tier list of every single Nike Acronym shoe ever. So this list separates every single shoe into its individual thing, but the most important thing is what I think about each particular model. So with the Lunar Forces, I think they were pretty much the best Acronym Nike shoe ever. So they came out extremely strong and released their very best shoe as their first shoe. And the Crimson colorway, aka the Dreamforce Ones, is clearly the best colorway if you ask me. Then I'd go for Turbo Green, then I would go for Black, but they're all pretty solid quite frankly. Then when it comes to the Prestos, I feel like those are another S tier shoe, but for me the Lunar Forces are just slightly better because the zip works both ways, and I always find that to be like a really big sticking point personally. The olive colour is definitely the best, and then Volt is probably second, Bamboo like maybe third, but they're all pretty solid colours altogether. With the Downtown Highs, I think they have a lot going for them, and they have a lot of like cool Acronym features like the Spanish buckle and the zip on the side, but I don't think aesthetically they're like the best looking shoe, so for me they're a B, and the white colorway is definitely the best. Then we have olive, and then we have red in last, which is the one that I got and returned, which is definitely like the I couldn't get the other two colorways colorway. Then from here we have the 2017 reissue of the Lunar Forces, which was entirely white, and obviously this is like an absolutely fantastic shoe, but I feel like the all white colorway makes it slightly less interesting than the original set. But still, this is the one that I probably wore the absolute most out of any that I own. Now I have some pretty strong opinions on the Vapormaxes. They're definitely like a decent shoe, but for me they just never really did anything Acronym, so they never really like appealed to me all that much. So for that, they're getting a C. And the other two colours, genuinely they're like neck and neck. I guess the red one is slightly better than the black one, but I don't really like either of those. You pretty much had to get this one, otherwise like, what was the point? Then from here we had the re-release of the Prestos in 2018, which for some reason was the only set that got completely re-released, and I feel like this set was obviously a downgrade from the originals, so for that reason they're going to A. Racer Pink was probably the best colorway, this yellow's pretty good, and then the grey pair is like just a little bit boring, and I never saw that much enthusiasm for it online. Now when it comes to the Blazers, they're definitely my least favourite Acronym shoe, so they're getting a D for me, and the maroon colorway is definitely worse than the olive colorway. Like, the thing about this shoe is it's all about the cage, and like, that cage you have to unscrew like 12 screws to change them over, and all the 3D printing stuff that happened, that was basically for like an extremely specialised like group of people who would be interested in that thing. So the shoe itself, like, I just don't love it. I've got like no love for it. So thanks for watching this entire video, and I'll catch you on the next one.